Gaelic J as Gael Harris.
As BOWEN Shuish Altacha, short you Claare na Gael. My name is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Did the ever hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
And it's my pleasure to present this programme, Claare na Gael, which I'll be doing in the English language as Niamnius Sachilg, and I'll be doing as well in the Manx Gaelic, Jinnian Amera, the mother tongue of Elin Vanning, the Isle of Man. As Banachta and Jurish. Now, having stayed the night of the 10th of July 1828 in the cottage of Mrs. Brew and Miss Trivett at Ballure, the following morning Dorothy Wordsworth, Henry Hutchinson and Willy Wordsworth have walked out to Kirk Maughold. But at Kirk Maughold, in fact, Dorothy Wordsworth leaves them and then she returns again to Ramsey. Tunferli John Seward ginst de Jonathan Harker a nach for fool de ven chesje ege Mina Harker jolit eg an Count Dracula as der our Count de chor Mina Joel fool Jonathan yes te Jonathan geestjach rische skiel gouds te claima Mina as struge of Faltek de Milas de Graiach. We begin with a track by two Welsh voices we've heard individually before. It's from the album by MATHIAS. She's a Huntu from Talgareg in Shir Benfro, but she's joined on this track by GWILYM BOWEN RHYS, a Gog from Bethel in Gwynedd. Tashu geis jachrish Radio Vanning, Stasiwn yn Asiwn, Fysgol Sgeliena, Waidulish Ellen Vanning.
Pan ddaw y for I nôl I groeso bydoedd hyd, gwelwn greadur llawn bywyd serch I fyd, ac yna ddaw stori arall I gipio golwg chi. Dyma Gwenno a'i gwallt hir ddi.
Weles I ti dy wallt mor ddyn, chwythu drwy'n tymor.
Syllais ti draw at fi, dy lygaid fel y tresor.
Merch y môr, o bles di ferch y môr. Merch y môr, o bles di ferch y môr.
Da gwynt a glaw i'r llan I pan, I wylais I ti ato.
Dy lais mor byr y pertarioed, enw di oedd Gwenno. Merch y môr, o bles di ferch y môr. Merch y môr, o bles di ferch y môr.
Ni'n bore braf o dar y traff, yn cysgu ysgod cregu.
O Gwenno fach yr wyt mor hardd, o brawes di mor sydyn. Merch y môr, o bles di ferch y môr. Merch y môr, o bles di ferch y môr.
Diwrnod na dwi'n cofio'n iawn, o llongau ar y lan.
Yn dal dy law yn ddacrau'n llawn, mi roddes di mi gisan. Merch y môr, o bles di ferch y môr. Merch y môr, o bles di ferch y môr. Merch y môr, o bles di ferch y môr. Merch y môr, o bles di ferch y môr.
from her album Annwn, Marie MATHIAS, and the song Gwenno, on which she was joined by GWILYM, BOWEN, RHYS. Now, Dorothy Wordsworth has returned to Ramsey. She gets to the outskirts. Then, she says, by Claare, among fine woods, crossing dell, delightful views of the sea and of Ramsey town. Returned by church on the hill, the burying ground of Ramsey, and formerly the sole parish church. A very pretty building, charmingly situated with trees all round it, but, alas, whitewashed roofs and walls. Well, she seems to have an aversion to the use of whitewash on old buildings. She'd remarked on something similar out at Maughold. And what she's talking about here is Ballure Chapel, and what she says needs some explanation, in fact. There is a burying ground round what used to be the Ballure Chapel, now a private house, but the burying ground was not for natives of Maughold who were buried at the old Maughold itself, and Dorothy is wrong in saying that Ballure was the sole parish church because it was a chapel of ease to Maughold. But it served the role for Ramsey, of course, certainly as a church, until St Paul's was built in 1822, and Dorothy Wordsworth had noted St Paul's when she first arrived in Ramsey. Cart marfa chorcion ren Quincey as Godalming crankle a dors. Henkert stiach on os bailus den sumnain. Ich van Helsing feeshorum. Van mi tiggle de rawi menel, rauschen de roil van deis jen rauschnesok, de choraliadi, de berchen possible, smunjen de dunje as a ven jou vanre via gelia as bousen heen. Maar so, look thou snoggle cordeelrish, renne braich jou na wat de ragen as een junu. De sen rennen charn Godalming fregert. Gedot mi fagen ne bol erbij sa halia, nons ver erbij jena schemeren. Ich mi sa chamber studeres, ach geder aui erbij on chen, beer na Gael. Ne jai, ve... Renne square wide at altajum, as gien a chum boch trolenach aljabi. Doort van Helsing de troomgoesach, gin Claare machare Arthur. Genelshin giri on shaw weg de way follet. Tan treishain nish ons tiggle ulju. Our Scottish band SKIPINNISH take us off to Tiree, cheer a mhurain, the land of the marram grass. A song in praise of Tyree, written by Sarah MacDonald, Cheer of mhurain, performed by SKIPINNISH, a band formed originally by two Tyree men, Angus MacPhail and Andrew Stevenson. Gin inchton de ser dúirt an olúris an charn Godalming. Masá hai art Bheir bé an shen, as gen a bodach shen beach ris shalit na ghe, but giel de lúr gin tege, van kledden lauskriwen bij last, as na loddergen gorm mieke niesmaster en lai ban. Va killen der a phonograph ed nis kjoutsjaachs an aisle, as van gier kuna les na loddergen. On sjo, remmi brisjestjaach buiste G de wel a kop elias a gistje ledger. Henk maners sen edenegger is shalid, ach, haie maach as rish, gouds haie Ren mi rai shis na griechen esh, ach dat mi fagen manne BJ. Ich mi stiach on shema Renfield, ach rau manne on en shen limetje. Rish René Fergach. Mi rod dot hake de garu. Ma saw René krome gion as look de gino tasje velen les je chinjege Dorothy nis. Limme jen dunje bach van maru. Now, from Ballure Chapel, Dorothy Wordsworth returns to the cottage at Ballure again, and there she notes a beautiful sunset and quiet, resting on garden seat, listening to and viewing the gentle sea, 2 packets with their stream of smoke. So we move on to the 11th of July, Friday morning, she writes, again sunny and delightful, warm yet. This is the sweetest morning place I ever housed in. Breezy and so retired that it tempts you to walk out half-dressed from the ground-floor bedroom, with Miss Trivett to Ramsey, called on Miss Forbes, a tall, thin gentlewoman living with 2 nieces in the dullest corner of a dull street in this little fishing town, now smelling of herrings in every crevice. Well, there's no mention of the name Forbes in Ramsey in directories of about that period, so we don't know who Mrs. Forbes was or where this dullest corner of a dull street in Ramsey was, but a reminder that the important herring fishery had started at the beginning of that week. And there we heard accordionist Marcel HENO with bombard player Jean-CLAUDE JEGAT, and a piece which celebrates a woman from the town of Pondy, as it is in Breton, or Pontivy in its Frenchified version, there in Brittany. That was called La Pontivienne. Stasiwn yn asiwn ta Radio Fanning is yn sio ta siw geisdiach rys Claare na Gael. Mish Robert gyda'n gorswell, Robert a corslach.
I've heard tell of owl Bobby Bob.
Ta Claare na Gael reclash yn rys siacht yn lwg jigol ar sgelia mach yn chyr sio, li rys golgus yn edega Radio Fanning as brew a craman agart, a shira enam a Claare. Ta Claare na Gael master na podcast yn Claare and Radio Fanning vis vergeten nasty in edega Radio Fanning, na trwd yn reich the podcast jou. Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, na Alexa. Miss Trivett then takes Dorothy Wordsworth to see someone else. Thence to Mrs. Gubbins, the aged widow of the late Vicar General, who died a few months ago at 83 years of age. Well, once again here Dorothy Wordsworth has an incorrect name. This Mrs. Gubbins, as she calls her, is in fact Mrs. Cubban, the widow of the Reverend Thomas Cubban, who'd been Vicar General from 1808 to 1827. In which case, in retrospect, it's possible that we can't find Mrs. Forbes because that name was perhaps written down wrongly as well, but anyway, I don't know about that. However, now it's Mrs. Cubban that they've come to see. She and her 3 daughters reside at a house belonging to Deemster Christian. A substantial dwelling, rather genteel, but all unfurbished. The avenue to the house winding, and the garden tangled and rank and dull. A very flourishing tulip tree, and nothing wanting but pruning and neatness. The ladies themselves, however, very neat and ladylike, and intelligent in all Manx affairs, and evidently much pleased with my approbation of their little isle. Diri Banasha Harker a kiaull, as Jean-CLAUDE derriagent and Elia, Dorothy de Trom Chushach, aig ne ye the raugent. Gedod mi ach genachten drau aard freil folitriddenach, ach, no drau mi tigel drau oors on shen, het doert mi weg. Hien deb an Helsingus Morris as Brya, as us machare Quincey wel beg ed inch dun. Beggen dregere, fuddy de bea mhurain verjere, ach cartnish genot grey. Smunny me de beime doile, de berg possible, de redden maak a red jinnige Count Gold tred dege a tie. Gewak me, ach honnig me kratnia gierie wijn unje Grenfield, as benelt me hier. Van mi jerkel rish vagenees en on gumme golbakkes Carfax, ach, te jean de dure jaagde en jagelje. Gejinne riest nach, het jigge riest nach, sont een sper jurgige zich jaar, as ten madren ergere. Signed een gavrige merach. Now, as part of a tribute to Mona Douglas, kiaull and Clegg wrote a song called Snai, and here she sings it, with excerpts of stories by native speakers of the Manx language during the performance as well.
autumn stop o glacier, an autumn stop o glacier, an autumn stop o glacier, an autumn stop o glacier.
Gadan, as ribbon spanyegen tune.
Snai, the delicate thread of the Manx language, written and sung by Gael and Clegg. Contributions too by Brisha Mandrel and Dave McLean, our partners in Claare, the band whose album launch will be in fact a week tonight. Dwr Quincey na Foglan Jerry, Shaw, Trút na Figlan Dunchega. Signed on Govrach a Merach. Rish Tamalt, va fuddy minute na gare. Rish Tamalt, as fuddy minute na gare, va toasted on. As dot me shielten, the dot me clashen, shien na kriechen ein, gouds vat boele. Esch, Dort van Helsing, as corna lauwenegge, 4 wiele kiaull benashte Harker. As nish, me wen Mina, wach vien. 10 inch on de girach krei hager. Da pisseg jean wel mi giri kor pien dot, ach de femein tickle de chuljurid. Son nish na smoon of riw, da fame ulju en aber de bij jint de blew as de gier, as les sledden kereil. Tan leer gere dun, tre sein dun, korkion ulju, me vis shen mor bia. As nish, tan kein de vodmuch tanachten bio as insiger. Ren de wens wach wien bibbernie, as dot mi fagen chonnet na njedigen ek, gouds rennie kleme a dunje sheshe, na sneddergie, as rennie krome a kion na cinchle, as na cinchle force, a chliwegger. Well, this morning's visiting is not yet done, because Miss Trivett and Dorothy Wordsworth now go home by Mrs. Duke's. Still the same comfortable kindness and uncomfortable dirt and close smells, and pretty behaved, pretty curly-headed lasses, who repaid me for their 6pence with 100 thanks. However, now they do return to the cottage of Mrs. Brew and Miss Trivett at the foot of Ballure Glen. At dinner, the ladies entertained me with the history of the first builder of this little cottage, who there revelled away her summers, feasting all the country round, and forming pleasure parties every sunny day, ordering them by the lodging her servants at different houses, and having beds round the little kitchen for her maids. Thus she spent a fortune of 1,500 per annum, and died penniless. Well, it's a pity that there's no more given here. Who was this person? I thought there might be something in Constance and William Radcliffe's book about Ramsey, but couldn't find anything, so it's an intriguing but frustrating story. Now, this is a song from Cornwall in which you'll recognise words from some other songs and phrases, and it's set to a tune which I know as in praise of the winning bard of the Welsh Eisteddfod, Henfych Privar Gwaenwyd Llavan y Cledd. Praise be to the Privar, the award-winning bard, the blade of the sword has been sheathed. Well, anyway, but as Cornwall forever, this is the Holman Climax Male Voice Choir. the Holman Climax Male Voice Choir from Camborne, but recorded, tell it not in Gath, in Redruth Methodist Church. George Smith was the conductor, and the organ accompaniment was by Ernest Green in Kenneth Pelmere's arrangement of Cornwall Forever. As I say, it's the tune is the same as that of Henfich Privarth in Welsh. And in fact, in Brittany, at the end of the Championnat des Bagadous, when the Pen Bagad marched through Lorient, and all the other members of all the other Bagads join in, and it's a great procession, and they play a tune which is a version of that, a sort of version of that same tune. So it's obviously something where it's very celebrational. Now, telling the tale of the spendthrift lady who had the Ballure cottage jogs Dorothy Wordsworth memory here. This reminds me of a very simple house in the Valley of Peel, which Henry had told me we should see by the roadside. The owner was very rich, but he'd made his fortune in Guinea, and was always wretched, for he saw things. This a Manxman told Henry, and when I came to the place and peeped in upon it, I wondered not that he'd imaginary visions, for he contrived to bury his house among trees, and further to make the approach to it, a long berceau, as dark as a dungeon alley, so that no natural object can be distinctly seen, I should think, even at midday. His farm, however, is very flourishing, and his crops of corn beautiful. Well, again, an interesting story, but no names. Well, I was looking through Francis Wilkins' book, Manx Slave Traders, and wonder whether it might have been Charles Neal. Now, he'd bought the Ragget, as well as Ballytussin, Close Beg, and GWILYM. So perhaps it was him, but as I say, not named in the actual text here. Esh roggy susa kiaull de mornach, as renne shina MAGHLOUDE van Helsing ren goily sa lauegge, as look de krome, as korpeg de harmach, renne freely de John. Van lauelje got ons lauwe dunje sheshe, va kummel de raelje ege courage magiet de mooi de gode. Lurk vergach houds ve jean de rawi kor ons oordachten smunjen egg, gawi toyach der. Gauw me a drug a cardly wou gekindel chordau. As rish tamelt ljouwer gerenne weg. Bij jean de rauw me na smoo gin cardle, as ren immer die shiltnes goil toyach der jingus jakons maagne. Ulju jou, kochalt rish bes, as soeder en volle. Rish fool as pien as burre. Ren en dunje shesje ek den jou arltach, dobberen, gouds hien dei, is door te rish de graiach, na gauwin nevin, sein dot we dunnel as ledje, as korkoenedaus en overaglach. An archive recording from 1947 of Uilleann piper Leo Rowsome, demonstrating his skill and dexterity with clusters and swirls of notes and use of the regulators.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Stasiwn yn asiwn sien the jarw, Radio Vanning. Si Claare and Gael wisgol Skelliena Cartnish, Meron Peen, Robert Gutting Carswell, Robert Carslach.
Have I heard tell of old Bobby Bob?
De rauwig vised kreeg om moer Themis, en eeb de Lord mchion en riddertje mag sjoeg orer bij. Jinnach hoe tigel chwiesjes de feme mer de groene. Well, honnig me de rauwe arm koene lesje vedsens en overegge, les me eigne. De berg MATHIAS by, maar zo ren me heen oorlu de schigger de gadle. Kaart de loer te jean de denk sabi norm de lie. Non wel kun je nem weg, elje. Herau chits Jonathan goeste me. Son veen a lail jorm en geert as de kun je nem Se chamber van onge hanne wen waarmee een old taas de J rai. Ach, teid je rudit nish fel fisio or so. Nish u feather sal your la nim jean you na san me. Deini me an al gedin jou wachtel ver jit orm rai, as an onchiel der au fenish en ja gaan. Gin demi dus de Jonathan, ach hoor me de rauwe de gadle vie trom. After dinner at 2 o'clock, parted from my hospitable friend Mrs. Brew, and, accompanied by Miss Trivett, waited half an hour on the road for the carrier's cart, in which the front place had been taken for me, a most pleasant conveyance. Road, smooth, and a variety of delightful views all the way to Douglas. At first over very high ground, crossing frequent glens with rivulets, and trees thriving, wherever scattered. Fences, chiefly of gorse, very green and very pretty. Well, this perhaps suggests the native Manx gorse, Ulex gallii, because the common gorse, Ulex ureopius, is most notable for its bright yellow flowers throughout the year rather than for being green. Mina vel Blair nagen, Mina vel banish an alien. A month without flowers on the gorse, a month without weddings in man. And of course the other one, when the gorse is out of bloom, kissing is out of fashion. Well, that yellow gorse was brought, well, it's all yellow, but that Europaeus was brought into the island in the 18th century for hedgerows, really. But the other gorse, Ulex gallii, grows in low, roundish clumps and blooms from, well, about August. Now we're about to be sweetened up with white sugar in the song Siwgr Gwyn, with Mynir GWILYM leading the way, joined by Gwennan Gibbard, Gwyneth Glyn and Sian James.
Sugar Gwyn, Sugar Gwyn, Sugar Air, pan mae'r dagra'n dair, ar dydd yn hir, a'ch ditha methu gweld yn glir. Sugar Gwyn, fydd pethau ddim wastad fel hyn, ar i'w lawr ar y milwyr enolwyn fawr. Dal yn dim a gyda hyn i ddoi, mae'r olwyn yn troi. Dal yn sownd, mi ddoed i rownd fy ffrind, pan ti ar y gwaelos na mond un ffordd i fynd. Sugar Gwyn, Sugar Gwyn, Sugar ma, mi fydd dy fyd yn gael, cyn bo hir, cael hedfan drwy yr awyr gwir. Sugar Gwyn, mi sbïw i lawr ar fan hyn a golchi blas y dagra efo'r awyr las dal yn dim a gyda hyn mi ddoi mae'r olwyn yn troi dal yn sownd mi ddoi di rownd fy ffrind pan ti ar y gwylos na mond i'r ffordd i fynd ond tan hynny siwgr gwyn sbia di fyny siwgr gwyn a gyda hyn mi ddoi mae'r olwyn yn troi dal yn sownd mi ddoi di rownd fy ffrind pan ti ar y gwylos na mond i'n ffordd i fynd siwgr gwyn siwgr gwyn
The foursome of Welsh women singer-songwriters and instrumentalists Pedair from their album Mai na Olai. There's Light, which was the Welsh language album of the year for 2023. Although Dorothy Wordsworth has said there's good views all the way to Douglas, she in fact goes back on herself now here, we descend to Laxey, a village at the foot of a long glen headed by Snaefell Mountains. One pretty gentleman's cottage. She then notes her general observations: bridge and rocky bay, a few boats and bleaching ground. Well, the bridge was the old Laxey Bridge or Monk's Bridge, medieval in origin, with 5 arches. At the time that Dorothy Wordsworth crossed it, it hadn't long been widened. The original bridge can be seen in one of the paintings by John Warwick Smith from about 1795, which also shows cloth being bleached, as Dorothy Wordsworth also mentions. And in fact, in John Feltham's tour through the Island of Man in 1797 and 1798, he refers to the romantic river, whose tides are adorned by countless yards of bleaching cloth. And, at intervals, groups of females tread the cloth in the stream, and fit around cauldrons boiling the cloth with kelp. The cloth covers a great space, and is kept down on the surface by large pebbles. They bleach horribly white. De rauw vised kreeg een moer temmes en eib de lord machon en rid atjemach. Oh, tam ni aliamste wel mi genu show hanna a gansi be nim genu e vistach. De rauw visach ed de kreeg een moer temmes en eib de lord machon en rid atjemach show a chorer be jinne go tiggle chwisjes de fame de groene. Wel, honnig mi de rauwe arm koene lesje vedsens en overegge les maagnia, de berg maaies mai, maar so ren mi hien urlu de sugar de gadle. Karteloer te jean de denk sabien arm de leer, on wel kunjen weg elje. Gerouwtjits jaag Jonathan goeste mi, son vene lail jorm en hier dus de kunjen Se chamber, ban onge hanne wen, ba mi een ol taas de jay rai. Ach te jerude dem nish wel visje or so, ni shu vedden e sul jor lei nim jean juna san mi. Deni mi een al gedden jou wachtel jitorm rai, as een ongielde rauw fenish en ja gaan. Gien demi de roeste Jonathan, ach hoor mi de rauw in a gadle fietrom. Well, te jean de rem mi screw en rid gedden der geert a gantje be, shanay. A song from the Scottish singer Alex Campbell, accompanying himself on guitar, and he's joined by Johnny Orange on the 5-string banjo. This is all about Peterhead, the bonny ship, the Diamond.
The Diamond is the ship, me lads, but the Greenland Stretch is bound, and the quay it is all garnished with bonny lasses round. Captain Thompson gives the orders, they sail the ocean wide, where the sun that never sets, me lads, nor darkness in the sky. And cheer up, my lads, let your hearts never fail, for the bonny ship, the Diamond key at Peterhead, the lassie ston around, with the shaws up who the boot them and the sod tears running down. Now don't you weep, my bonny lads, though ye be left behind, for the rose will grow on Greenland's ice afore we change our mind. Cheer up, my lads, let your hearts never fail, while the bonny ship the Diamond goes a fishing for a whale. Here's a health to the Resolution, likewise the Eliza Swan. Here's a health to the Battler Roman throws in the Diamond Ship of Fame. We wear the trousers all the white and the jackets all the blue. When we return to Peterhead, we'll haste sweet Captain you. Then come cheer up, my lads, let your hearts never fail, while the bonny ship the Diamond goes a fishing for a whale. It'll be breakfast day and night when Greenland lads come home. We're ship that's bumper for me lads and money to your name. We'll make the cradles for the rock, the blankets for the tear, and every lass in Peterhead sing hush up by my dear. Then come cheer up, my lads, let your hearts never fail, while the bonny ship the Diamond goes a fishing for a whale.
And that's Alex Campbell and a well-known song about whaling, or at least about the whalemen and the home port of the bonny ship the Diamond, Peterhead in Aberdeenshire, the Blue Tune, as they used to call it. Apparently we heard Alex Campbell singing about wearing the trousers of the white and the jackets of the blue, but it was Peterhead was called Blue Tune because the fishermen from the town were famous for wearing blue stockings as well, so that's the Blue Tune, Peterhead in Aberdeenshire. Ve Jean, den eschen van oile drugge cadley is geen mish. Hug me eber ach gedod me doeste. Hug shaw al moorarm, as jich me geertes mish atje me jas. Esh de jaru, ren me grie ljagige choustai jim. As jich me geert gamelishel ljagige choustai jim. Ljorishel javi, mor de bege en ol kesmed ase ge. Ne shen de bege ge jit de ween a komme ege, no de rawie jeer soel de bollig, va dunja ljauwer shang de jadu, as edach hu ege de bollig. Our fellow passenger on the carrier's cart joins Dorothy Wordsworth here in Laxey, tempted by the cleanliness of a poor hut to enter it with my companion, a young Methodist. And we shall hear what happened in that incident when we continue with more from Dorothy Wordsworth's diary next time.
Pardon spay it they were bit, 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 a block your wonk in a scavet, la 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 lo, ya la 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 lo, ya la 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 lom, la 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 lo, ya la 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 lo, ya la 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 lo, ya la 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 lom, la 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 lo.
Sinead Cartnish, as Chris Pearson will be along to bring you 2 hours of the best chill-out music for your Sunday evening from 7 till 9, and then at 9 it'll be time for Sundown with Judith Lay. We're closing Claire Gael with Breton singer Nolwenn Leroy and Suite Sud-Américaine, meaning a southern Breton suite, but it's actually only the Pardon Spéed about a religious celebration in the village of Spézed. Not that the words are anything remotely religious, I'd have to say. Chanelio son Son der nachhirt and so now until the next time, this is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Our Bobby Bob.
Wishing you a very good night, Eve, I'm a Crieriu, as Orsurier, as my Yerian shared you will you.